Nope.
Where's that?
6 meters.
Where Deb?
10 meters.
Morning.
Yeah. You can hear us.
Yeah, and I guess how we're reading it is just it's for bills.
Yeah.
We need variances and then person. Maximum impermeable surface is 80%.
Base is always in up top and then make it like.
But right now, the whole thing is an surface.
Oh, like here, this
It's
is
Like it's gonna be
Well, it's designed.
entirely.
Yeah.
All right, Candace?
Well, I guess there's
We're good.
fancy.
Go. Good morning, everybody.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
you okay, Nicole?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I'd like to call the Planning and Development Committee meeting to order at 9 a.m., March 20th, 2024. Approval of the agenda. We do have a late item that we're going to add to the agenda. And that is, we got a 222 Temple. Do you want to add that? Where do you want to add that, Nicole? Right at the end?
At the beginning, it's great. I think it'll be a quick conversation.
Oh, right at the very beginning? Okay, all right, we'll put that at that right to the beginning. Okay. Great, approval of the agenda, recommended that the Planning Development Committee meeting agenda for March 2nd, 2024 be approved as circulated. Can I have a mover? Ian, seconder, John, thank you. All in favor? Carrie? All right, approval of the minutes. Recommended that the minutes of the Planning and Development Committee meeting held on March 6th, 2024 be adopted. Can I have a mover? John, seconder? Deb? All those in favor? Carrie. Great. Moving on to new business, we'll have a quick presentation from 222 Temple. Nicole, do you want to take that away?
Yeah, through the chair. Do we have Joshua Gore online?
Yes, we do.
Hi.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
So I guess I just wanted to bring to you guys' attention a new development that we're looking at 222 Temple Street. This development has two parts to it, an option number 3 and an option number 4. I'll start off by with the option number 3. We're looking at putting in 58 townhouse units within 222 Temple Street. And if I can, I'd like to share a screen here. Let me see. And I will share. Can you guys see my screen here? Okay. So what we have here is a 58 unit townhouse development. It's located at 222 Temple Street. We're looking at a mix of 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units. There are some frontage units located fronting 222, which would have access to the street on 222 Temple, and the rest of the development would be accessed via the on-site roadways. This option was an option in January. Since then, we've had the opportunity to purchase 2 more pieces of land, which would be 303 and 307 Fred Bush Lane. I'm just going to share this option number 4 with you guys. With this development here, we have a total of 74 units, which does meet the requirement of your UPA at 60 units per hectare. This one here would ultimately require some rezoning on 303 and 307 Fred Bush Lane. Right now it is zoned as C1 commercial, but we would be looking at rezoning that or doing a combined zoning for the entire site under the MUR-1, which is your multifamily zoning that 222 Temple is already zoned as. Right now, we're just looking for some feedback on would you guys be in favor of rezoning 303 and 307 Fred Bush Lane from C1 commercial to the MUR-1, which would be the multi-unit zoning that you guys have. And then also 2 is as part of the MUR zoning, you guys have a 6-meter front yard setback, rear yard setback, and side yard setback. And we would be looking to relax that 3 meters to, 6 meters to 3 meters for the side yard setbacks. And that would be along the sides of the properties, if you can see here, sorry about that, beside 224 Temple and 218 Temple. And that would be along the entire west and east property line. So that would be 3 meters instead of the 6 meters that's required under the MUR zoning.
Okay, that's great, Josh. You have more to add to that?
Well, I guess I can touch up on these informative notes here. I guess parking within the site here, we're going to be providing 2 stalls as a tandem or a side-by-side within each unit. So we will have a minimum of 2 parking stalls per unit, and some of them do have 3 parking stalls. I guess with the option number 3, we've provided a park area and some community planter boxes. And option number 4, because we had a little bit more area to play with, we were able to add a clubhouse, which would be, I guess, an amenity area for the entire development. This year, we would be looking at both options. We'd be looking at doing a phasing on the site. So we'd be looking at doing about 16 units per phase. And once the first phase was done, and we would move on to the second phase. We do know that we do have a geotech report on the entire site, and the minimum flood level is at your 351.1, and we will be achieving that with all of these units. And that would be kind of it, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Josh. Nicole, do you have anything you want to add?
No.
Okay. Planning committee, anybody have any questions? Deb, go ahead.
Yeah, so I assume these are going to be for sale and not purpose-built rentals?
That is correct, yes. They would be in the for sale market. And again, they would be a mixture. I think we're at about 40% 2 bedrooms and 60% 3 bedrooms. And there may be options for dens with them.
Okay, go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, thanks very much. So you be looking to use Fred Bush Lane as well, I guess as a primary access as well?
Nope. So with the option
Okay,
number 2, I'll just zoom in here. Option number 2, what we do is we provide access out to Fred Bush Lane, but it is for emergency only. So that would be for fire trucks and just in case. So it would be an emergency access only, and it would probably have bollards fronting that area.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be a problem. It just might be something that we need to upgrade, I would say overall. But no, I mean, my opinion on this is I like it. You know, I absolutely encourage you to bring this forward. You know, we're looking for more housing in Second, or at least I am looking for more housing in Second, and you know, particularly housing that people can buy as well. So no, this looks great, and I'm glad that you're able to give us just a high level overview. Obviously, the details matter, but in terms of, I think you're looking for a sense of the temperature, and I would certainly welcome this from my perspective.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you, Ian. John, do you have any words?
My question would be more towards the Fred Bush Lane, that's behind IDA.
That's right.
So this is kind of twisted sideways from
Yeah,
wise.
yeah.
So the two current commercial sites are the top portion of that, right?
That is correct. I'll just give you a little
Okay, there we go.
overview. You can see the site map here. So yes, it is skewed a little bit just to kind of have the orientation for the drawing. But yes, it's 303 and 307 Fred Bush Lane, and it would be backing onto 301, 305, and 309 Main Street. Now, I do know that that lane there is, I think, just gravel, and I don't think that there's any services located within that lane. So that's why we just provided a emergency access for fire trucks and firefighting.
No, I do, sorry, Ian, I do fully support the idea. I like it, like that. We definitely are gonna have to talk with our operations if we can support all the infrastructure, because with our other development going in as well, we might have some major upgrades we gotta do to start supporting all this.
And what kind of infrastructure upgrades are you
Well,
talking about?
our water and sewer are very small on Main
Okay.
Street still.
Well, I guess we would be tying into Temple Street, which is a 200 diameter sanitary. And to give you an idea, capacity of a 200 diameter sanitary is about 10,000 people.
So we're well within then at that point.
Yeah, and the water main is 150 diameter that just went in 2009, and it is a loop system. So I don't see any problems with firefighting or water serviceability.
Great.
I like it.
Thanks, John. Yeah, go ahead, Ian.
Oh, sorry, no, I just wanted to highlight one other kind of issue since you're going back on the Fred Bush Lane. That area is used by all the businesses on the main street for deliveries and everything else. So just maybe, I see a pretty wide buffer there, which is good because there's garbage collection back there. There's the liquor store back there. So there's a lot of kind of truck, deliveries, I think, for the IDA and everything back there. So just to take that into account, so those buyers aren't going to be kind of annoyed, but I can see that you've done that. So yeah, that's great.
Okay, thanks, Ian. Yeah, Joshua, I agree. I think this is a great proposal. We need more housing. And any idea on when you're going to bring it forward to council? Are you looking fairly soon this summer?
It would be definitely this spring. So there you go.
Great. No, good to hear. Good to hear. Now with a clubhouse and things like that, it'd be more high end or medium residential units?
It would be maybe in about the medium scale for like the building styles and types. Ultimately, we would like to keep this as affordable as possible, being in Sycamoose. So it will be, we'll have kind of a mixture of kind of the medium to maybe, I guess it all depends on the finishes, as you know. So, but we were expecting it to be more of a medium development for cost wise.
Okay, great. Thank you. Kelly, do you have anything? Everybody else good? Okay, yeah, we're really excited about your project. Deb, all four of us here, and I'm sure the entire town would be looking forward to more housing. So that's wonderful. Thank you very much for presenting today and giving us a little bit of a high level, and we're looking forward to see it come to council.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Okay, moving right along. New business, we'll go to Mervyn Road. Nicole, do you want to give us a little update?
Yeah, through the chair. So I just have a presentation here that we're pulling up. I'll walk through it, and then of course, we have the owner in the gallery here. All right, this is for the watercourse development permit 24023 DP, and it's for 01 Mervyn Road. So on the left-hand side is the entire property. It's hooked across Mervyn and the highway. And the watercourse development permit and the development proposed is all on the west side of the highway there, circled in red. And these are some ortho photos of the property of kind of what's existing out there. Okay, so it's designated in the OCP commercial waterfront on the, I'll say the west side of the highway. And for zoning, it's primarily C6 houseboat commercial. Okay, so the proposal in front of us today is a redesign of the marina land where Secund's Houseboats currently operates. And so I've got those two red parcels there are all on the west side of the highway. And then in addition to the redesign, 11 new recreational vehicle sites are proposed at the north end of the property. So breaking it down even more, this is the westernmost parcel. We've got 30 parking stalls. The existing building is to be converted to a beach amenity, and existing washroom and utility shed going to stay the same. And then just to show, we have the red dotted line as the 15-meter setback and the green dotted line as the 30-meter setback. A riparian report is in the process, and the province will confirm their approval, and then we can go from there. But that's kind of just an outline of what we're looking at. And then for the next piece of property there, 88 parking stalls and removing the internal traffic island, and then having a new operations building and maintenance building, then relocating their propane tank and removing 2 existing buildings and keeping 2 existing buildings, and then a fence around the maintenance area. So I have this slide here just showing the 11 RV sites in the purple color. And then I've shown the, I guess I call it a crown parcel shown in teal. So these RV sites overlap with the private property and crown land. And I understand that the applicant has applied to the province to purchase that teal parcel and then consolidate with their property. And that's where the RV sites are proposed. Thank you. Okay, and so that W3 area is where that crown parcel lies and the proposed RV sites. And then the rest of the parcel there is the C6 houseboat commercial. And so both of those zones, I think it's important to note, don't support RV sites. So we would be looking at a rezoning there. If the application to the province is successful for the purchase of the land, we'd be looking at a rezoning there. For internal comments, so building department, I guess the realignment of the buildings will require a permit, and they'll go through their regular process. By law, didn't have any objections. Same with fire. Of course, they always recommend the fire smart landscaping when it comes to fencing and landscaping in general. And then for operations, works and services agreement is required for any kind of offsite water, sewer, road improvements as a result of the development. And they just wanted to note that there are concerns in regard to parking along Mervyn Road and a proper turnaround. And any chance they get, they encourage some additional widening or a cul-de-sac there for the public. And I've included this slide just to kind of show, I guess in our official community plan, we have the road designated as a urban collector at 20 meters. And currently how Mervyn is dedicated, we're sitting at about 18. And so I've just thrown in some options. Of course, we're open to discussion today. So thinking that maybe we'd want to permit the redesign of the marina land only at this time. It is a phased development with marina land coming first and then the RV sites second. I would suggest that we permit the 11 RV sites after the land purchase from the province is successful and the rezoning. There's another option too, where we could permit conditional of these types of approvals, but I would say the one from the province isn't guaranteed, but open to options.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. We have in the galley, we have Lockie and Lucky Craig, one of the owners, and Doug Raspberry. Yes, okay, thank you very much for coming today and presenting. I didn't read the recommendation, but I'll just read it now real quick. Recommended that the Planning and Development Committee receive the report for information. So, yeah, kind of open up the floor. Do you want to do a little presentation first, Lockie?
I'm happy to do a presentation for sure. Can we go back, Nicole, to the, yeah, that picture right there? Perfect.
You want to just stand up at the podium? That way the people online can hear you. Thank you.
As I assume council knows, but maybe not all of the development committee members, we purchased this site approximately 4 years ago. At the time we purchased it, it was in pretty close to the existing state. The problem with the site from an operations point of view and also from a, you know, what's best for the town is this, to us, looks like an industrial site, and it shouldn't be. So first of all, the building removals, let's talk just about that, moving the buildings around. Once we file our report, which is imminent with the province, and we believe it'll get it, most of the buildings that we're trying to remove are in the SPIA, the kind of prohibited, shouldn't have development in it. So we're moving them out of the SPIA up towards the highway, and we're trying to beautify the beach area. That's our main focus, is to try and make this a nice area, amenities for the campground users up the hill, and also for houseboating operations and marina operations as well. So we actually are trying to push everything out of that corner, which is in the SPIA, to become basically natural beach land, hoping to make that a great amenity for that whole area. That's the main purpose of moving the buildings around and trying to beautify the entire set. We think there's a need for houseboat operator or users to have a place to, you know, kind of enjoy the beach as opposed to sitting in their cars waiting for their boats to be ready. Also, in the future, we've applied for a large marina expansion. Again, marina users could use that, campground users and community users. So that's the hope and plan of this site. Prior to the general rezoning by the District of Sicamous of all of the lands, this had a very, very dense rezoning or zoning on it, 230 units, I believe. Contemplated to have 2 towers where our parking is right now, and predominantly push the houseboat operations onto the platform on what we call Dock 2, and also to have all of the parking for the houseboat operations across the street. They, at the time, history has proven that it wasn't a real good idea. They were going to have an underpass under the road. I would think most people believe that an overpass is a far better approach than an underpass, as it would have been completely full of sand when the big floods occurred over there as well. So that's what we're trying to do with phase 1. I do want to specifically comment on the operations recommendations and reports, and give council a little bit of history. In 2010, when this site was rezoned after lots of negotiation, Councillor Bushman, were you on the council in 2010?
2010, no, I wasn't. Oh, that's a long time ago.
So the previous administration had agreed to sell the laneway to Waterways houseboats. Part of the problem with the lane is, of course, there's no place for the boats to turn around, and it's a dead end road into the water. Used by the subdivision next door to us, probably the predominantly users other than the houseboat operations. Previous just to this, Councillor Jeff Malmus brought up in council at the time is the concept of selling us that marina is still a good idea. We think it should happen. The comments about potentially cul-de-sac and dedication of land, that doesn't work for us, won't work for us. But we're happy, and it works right now as a local boat launch because we allow people to use our property, which we're still happy to do. If you were to sell it to us in the future, of course, we give you an easement to have the people continue to use it. And of course, they use without an easement, but we're not opposed to it, is so that they can back up. I do want to say, and again, this isn't really the purpose of this meeting, that road should be widened and actual designated parking along the road would be fantastic. And so as part of that potential negotiation to take where that red line is and sell it to us, but also have parking all the way along on the water side for the local users, I think would be fantastic. But so that's the purpose of the reconfiguring the buildings. The 11 campsites, RV sites, in our view, is not a long-term solution. It's a short-term solution until potential future development goes. But we believe once reconfigured, the site is underutilized. Don't need what you have there. But once we do the marina expansion, which I'll talk about, they would have to disappear because you would need all of that land for parking for sure. So that's the point of the RV site, just to try and have additional campsites for now until, you know, marina expansion occurs. With respect to the province, the avulsion, as it is called, complicated piece of land. Waterways Houseboats had an agreement with the province to buy it. They let that agreement lapse. The province made us reapply. We reapplied 3 years ago, and we're in the queue. We think we're through front counter now on that, and we're now on the second maternity leave with Danielle Harvey, and she's our advocate. So we suspect there won't be any traction until she's back this fall from her second maternity leave, and so that I think that will happen. With respect to the marina, I think it's important to keep council and the district apprised as to what's happening there. Our marina expansion, we've got notification from front counter that we've actually made it through front counter. We were told somewhere between a year or two. I do not believe we will get marina expansion approval this year, maybe not next year, don't know when. That's why we're thinking, hey, it's a relatively simple, easy infrastructure to put in those 11 RV sites. It would be good for basically the entire community to have more RV sites. It would be waterfront, but they certainly are not intended to be permanent. I'm happy to talk, you know, answer any questions that you guys have and talk about what we're trying to do there.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Lockie. Planning committee, anybody have any questions? Okay, go ahead there, Ian.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Nice to meet you. I'm just trying to get a better grip on what we're talking. I understand where you want to put these 11 campsites. Now, with the other part of it, and this can be for Nicole or for you, we're removing or resituating some of those buildings on the site to include parking. Is that car parking or houseboat parking or all of the above?
No, so
Just trying to, because there's two different parcels here, yeah.
two different parcels. I believe it's one title though. Is that not correct? Yeah, one title, two different parcels. The little box on the west side that's on the water.
Mhm.
All of the buildings that we're trying to move are in that corner right now. And that is in the SPIA. It's in the should not build area. Been there for years and years, I must say. The goal is to try and make that whole area a better amenity area. We, you know, a little bit of complication on what you're allowed to do on the beach, but really we picture cabanas and a hot dog shack that's actually already there that we can repurpose for what it is there. But to move all of there's currently 6 sea cans and a big portable building. Want to move the big portable building up the hill to be next to the other portable buildings on the highway side.
Okay.
The sea cans, we intend to remove some of them from the site, but move 4 up the hill again next to the highway. The concept being that the entire highway would have the infrastructure for running houseboat operations. And that all of the rest of the site go back to either parking or beach use area.
And then the parking would be, well, some would presumably be for houseboats, right? Correct?
So some is, most of it right now is for houseboats, poorly configured, by the way, but yeah, yes, that would be the plan. And again, reconfiguration of actually all of the parking spots for sure. And that's the most important part of our application today, is to try and just get those buildings moved and try and clean up the site. We hope everyone that shows up every year sees progress towards a much nicer area.
Go ahead there, Deb.
It's important.
Yeah, no, I'm all for making the site look better, and honestly, you guys have already made some efforts that way. So I think that shows your intentions more than anything. But I'm just curious with you know, why you'd want to have parking on that beach amenity side, or did I misunderstand and that's only transitional as well as the RV sites?
Okay, so again, I don't know that the picture does it justice. Yeah, we want to have some parking there. It's convenient for beach users, but more important is the actual beach itself.
Yeah.
And so that's why we have it that way. I know what you're saying, and currently right now, in dealing with our consultant, we're trying to deal with the food service on that beach. Again, it is in the SPIA. We have a number of buildings there, and the building that is actually still shown on that site is what we want to repurpose. It's up on the northeast corner. You can actually still see it on the little map. And so it might not be that all of the parking exists there, but there's line of sight right to the beach from that little building is there right now. So that's what the concept is.
Okay, good, Deb.
Yeah, no, and I was just gonna say, and obviously you've got to deal with the province on that land purchase, but I have always been supportive of transitional, not necessarily zoning, but transitional phasing and planning until you get where you really want to be. So, you know, like the RV sites seem to make sense.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deb. John, go ahead.
This one's probably more for Nicole. Would it not make more sense just to run him on a temporary use permit for the RV stalls and whatnot? So we're not changing zoning multiple times, because when you do your marina expansion, would we then have to change away from current zoning again? Like, just to expedite the whole process, I'm just jumping through a bunch of zoning re-changes, wondering if that's a better option.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the development or the temporary use permit area covers all of Sycamoose from what I understand, so it could apply if that's an option we want to go. Not knowing when the province would, you know, follow through with that purchase agreement, so.
So
I guess.
Go ahead, Lockie.
good point, John. Let me address that.
Yeah.
Temporary use permits are for 2 years only. Three, okay.
And renewable for another 3.
Renewable for another 3. And that might be enough. I do want to say that there's some issues on the current zoning and what we were ultimately promised by the District of Sycamoose when the whole rezoning happened. Previous administrators assured us that we were going to get a specific zoning that we actually commented on during the comment period. Didn't happen. I understand that's being fixed right now. So I think that new zoning does allow us to put those RV sites there. So just to hold on that thought, it's a good thought.
Thanks for explaining that, Lockie. Yeah. Anything else, John?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Go ahead, Darren.
Yeah, I was actually gonna bring up that temporary use permit as well. I'm not so sure if I would, like, on a permanent basis, want to rezone it to have those RV sites right there by the highway. I mean, there's a lot of ifs here, right? I mean, you have.
Yeah.
Everything. So I mean, I'm in favor of the staff recommendation to put that aside for now. you're gonna have to go and get that land and it might not ever go anywhere, right? Yeah. So, yeah, like, to me, this is probably a case where the temporary use is kind of designed for that, right? Like, in order to allow you to give you at least 3 and then another 3, so 6 years to kind of get to the plan. I just want to go back to just another question just about the site, because we were out there looking at the site the other night. You're not planning on building any new buildings, you're just trying to reorient the site as it is now.
Again, the zoning allows for big new buildings.
Sure.
I'm too old that that's gonna happen in my lifetime. The joke about Sycamoose being the capital of unfinished foundations, it's because there's actually better sites than this and existing sites. We didn't want to give away that zoning, which we haven't, but there's no current intention to do any buildings on that site, even though it's zoned to be. I think there's better sites in Sycamoose to develop than that one for sure at the current time.
So let me just, so yeah, since we're on it, so the long-term kind of vision for these 2 parcels that we see up here. The left-hand side, bring it back to a more natural environment beach. You'll have a little hot dog stand or food stand or something there. And then the other side would remain kind of a houseboat operations, the buildings to support that and et cetera.
I do want to just, again, expand that vision. Yes, to your question. The west side is almost entirely in the SPIA.
Yeah.
The intention of the province, good planning thoughts, that shouldn't be developed ever. And so even the waterways, 230 units that they had designed there with these big buildings and all that, they stayed out of that area because environmental consultants were telling them, no one wants that stuff that close to the water. And so that is exactly what it's supposed to be, an amenity area, but expanded from the houseboat to also campers from up the hill and also marina users in the future and the community. It's open to the public from our point of view.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, that's good. Anybody else? Okay, yeah, Lockie, I totally support your project. I think it's great that you're gonna utilize more RV sites. It's a really growing industry and you know, it complements your RV sites on the top side as well. And yeah, no, I think it's great. It's actually come 360 where it was Beachcomber Campground before.
Yes.
And they were camp spots exactly where you're planning on putting them back. So we really support it and looking forward to coming to council for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much and thanks for coming. Okay.
Thank you again to the District of Sycamoose. Love you guys. It's a great environment to be in business and also to take advantage of the great nature that you guys have here. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
Just add one thing.
That does.
Yes, we're moving 3 or 4 buildings out into houseboat operations just up the hill. Nothing new. Actually, we're reducing our footprint of what we currently have from mechanic shop and operation shop to just up there off the coast.
Yeah, I was just trying to get it oriented in my mind, kind of where it is. So, yeah, but thank you for that.
That's all.
Yeah, no, it is. Thank you.
Yep, thanks again, guys, for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, moving right along. That was for information only. 534 Main Street. We have Sweet Pal online, I think, as well.
Yep.
Nicole, you want to take it away?
The chair, so I have a presentation and then we can hand it over to Sweet Pal.
Perfect.
Oh. I'm-
Nicole, you gonna go with the presentation or I?
Yeah, I'll do the presentation first.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Oh, excuse me, Sweet Pal, just one moment. Deb, can you hear Nicole? Okay?
Yep.
Okay, that's good. Just wanted to make sure because sometimes our Zoom people can't hear when you're not right up to the microphone.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead, Nicole.
Okay, so we have a recommendation today that the Planning and Development Committee recommend the council approve development permit 21361 DP for 534 Main Street. Okay, so on the left-hand side, just the location map, we're looking at the cross-hatched 534 rectangle parcel there. And then on the right-hand side is the ortho of the existing lot. So for the OCP, it's designated town center, gateway character area. And currently zoned C1 local and town center commercial. So the proposal today for 534 Main Street is a checkpoint development, including drive-through service facilities with a food court, dining area, and associated amenities. And the drawings were included in the staff report, the current drawings. So I've just highlighted the 534 Main Street property in red here. And so this is what we're looking at today is use of the existing building and then drive-through services, some line marking, signage. Okay, and I wanted to go through some of the history of the file because you notice it's a 2021 file number. So first up, contaminated sites regulation. So 530, the parcel that kind of surrounds 534 Main Street. So 530 and 534 applied for a development permit concurrently. And 534 was required to go through the site contamination process with the province. And so 530 moved forward with a development permit, and that was issued for gas canopy, parking, landscaping, garbage tank. And just recently, 534 received clearance from the province in November of last year. And so now we're looking at the development permit today. And then to talk about traffic impact studies. So the developer conducted a traffic impact study that provided recommendations for traffic flow. And a third-party review was conducted of the traffic impact study and provided further recommendations. In the third-party review, the intersections included were Paradise and Main and Highway 97A, and Highway 97A and Highway 1. And then recommendations from the TIS were incorporated on site. I wanted to make a note about the landscaping plan in the staff report. It's not finalized yet. There was a request to move the garbage tanks to a less visible location. And so they've done that in the rest of the drawings, but not in the landscape, because they're looking for some input on whether or not we're happy with the garbage tank location. And then once we get that feedback, the drawings will be finalized by the applicant and submitted in a final drawing package for council. Okay, so with 534 and 530 together, we're looking at 44 parking stalls, 4 of them electric vehicle charging stations. The gas canopy fountain with seating, that's now shown on the east side of the parcel there. Garbage tank, the drive-through services, landscaping. There's a food court proposed, dining area, and all the associated amenities with that. And so just wanted to talk a bit about the 2 properties because they have been handled, I guess, concurrently or hand in hand. And so the recommendation would be to approve the development permit pending consolidation of the lots, or the less favorable is approve the development permit pending registration of a covenant to bind the 2 titles together. It would be ideal to have the lots consolidated. So for internal referrals, a building permit has been issued for the interior work on 534 Main Street, and they're going through their inspections as per their process. And then any type of construction on the exterior of the building will also require a building permit. And so the applicant is aware of that. Bylaw had no concerns, and then fire, no concerns, but always looking for that fire smart landscaping. And then for operations and infrastructure, they feel like there should be no concern with traffic backing onto Main Street as a result of the third-party review of the traffic impact study. And they wanted to note that there are 3 active services agreements with the developer right now. Okay, we had Sweet Pal on the line who I think wanted to say a few things.
Okay, go ahead there, sweet pal. welcome.
Excellent. Thank you and good morning, everyone. It's been a long journey here. Actually, I have an addition to my family, so the voice supporting me is another baby girl in last 2-3 years. And like I sincerely would say, like I like please support us to bring these jobs to the community, to finish this unfinished business, because if I was living in the town as well, it's not pretty. And I think I saw 2 proposals here, more families coming in town, more jobs needed and all. Again, I'm not saying I'm a business person, but I think in a long run, this would benefit the community. This would bring in more revenue, and this will add opportunities for people and the society in long run. Again, I say this has been a journey. This has been a journey which has created, of course, there are perspectives, and there have been strong perspectives brought forward from certain individuals, and I respect their opinion because they are in the same business of restaurant business. So again, there are no hard feelings, but I believe in positive energy. I believe in good karmas, and we're gonna continue with this journey. We are not gonna run away. We just want to continue with this journey, finish this project, and in long term, I was just looking to be living in Sycamus. I was searching for a few houses. Looks like finally we are getting there. So how can I integrate, actually not just by running a business, but becoming an integral part of Sycamus?
Okay, thank you very much, sweet pal. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, open the floor up. Anybody have any questions or concerns? Okay, go ahead there, Ian.
Well, I'll address what you just said, that if you think any of my concerns about this project has anything to do with me being in a business. I'm not in the same business as you. I don't do fast food. It's not even close to the same business. But let me just begin here on saying that I have lots of questions. I've always had lots of questions about the site. I think now my questions turn to more like form or character. So, you know, our OCP states that a lot of these developments here on Main Street should be oriented to a streetscape on Main Street, and it should be inviting, that we actually have something that's inviting that fronts our Main Street. So I just want to ask you a question, how you think your development does that?
Good question, my friend. We are typically would say we are in restaurant business. To answer your first point, we are in restaurant business. And again, I didn't join the council for this reason or contributing anything. I've continued to contribute in the positive way I was able to. And I don't need to quote those things. But coming to your question, yes, the way it was zoned, C1 commercial, we looked at those bylaws and we have followed those directions. Any questions that has been brought forward, whether it was doing the study related to environmental, we got the clearance from province. Anything that was needed in terms of bylaws related to traffic impact study, we got it done through provincial regulations again. We got feedback on through different studies done by investing our own money and integrating into the community. I think by having a business where 70 odd jobs is going to be created, where people are going to come, work, eat, go. It is the newer generation theme where fast food is common. where food is common. It's just not fast food. Burger King, KFC, Pizza Hut. Uh, uh, I think those are the trends. Those are the trends, and that's how the land was zoned. That was how the land was zoned. It was not me creating that zoning, and that is how we bought this property. And that is how we have continued to support. Any question that were being asked have been answered over years. That, hey, this is the study, it meets the requirement. This is the study, it meets the requirement. This is the study again, which meets the requirement. Whatever the feedbacks or servicing agreements were requested, hey, Sweetpal, how would you support this? I was like, okay, if I need to enter into an agreement and take a cost, I was very open. Like, I'm gonna jump in and take this cost. If anything else was required, hey, Sweetpal, go change this. We don't want the garbage area here. Replace it with the fountain area, change this to there. Every time a sincere business request has come in, we have been forthcoming to do it. And we are, for 3 years now, I'm part of Sycamus. I bought this property. I bought this property to live there and run the business. And for 3 years, without knowing me, someone has used my name and posted on like Facebooks and other things, social medias. Again, I'm not here for that, and I don't respond to such things either. But it sounds very personal rather than business. So if any business questions were there, those business questions should be asked, and those business questions have been addressed. And that is what Canadian civil society is based on. That is what the Canadian civil society promotes. And that's what we have been trying to do with this development. But continuously in the background, I have felt, and again, like, I have 2 beautiful daughters and I don't carry such energy. I don't carry such energy. So I'm going to focus on this development, and I humbly request that this integrates into the zoning, this integrates into the requirements of how business is run in current world, where COVID taught us when the restaurants were shut down, that how drive-through was so critical, and this is how we are proposing this development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sweetpal. Sorry you feel that way. You know, it's a very critical piece of property. It's the entrance to our main street in our town, and you're doing, like I say, you purchased a couple pieces of property that maybe should have been amalgamated in the beginning, but just the way the environment and all that went, it was a little bit delayed. And you got to work with a building that you've invested in, and it's unfortunate it's not pushed back a little further to give you a gas station on this side and give you the storefront on Main Street instead of the back side of the building. So anyways, appreciate your thoughts. Are anybody else have any thing? Did you have one more thing? Your mic's on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, my question was just about the OCP, but I asked that question, but I'm still, in terms of the orientation of the development, it is towards the highway side. But one of the things that our traffic study brought up though as well was the gas canopy. And he recommended that it actually be turned the other way. But I still see that it is, the way that he actually highlighted it is going to be a significant problem on the site for traffic. Can staff, because that was a very specific recommendation from him.
Okay, go ahead then.
Yep, through the chair. Okay, so if I recall the conversations, right, this is an old drawing, so you
Okay.
can see the canopy shown, I guess, east-west alignment, and then the pump stations are aligned north-south. They've since been, I mean, the gas canopy is still east-west, but the gas pumps have been, they're diagonal now. I'm sorry, I didn't have a drawing of that on here that captures it. But it is in the drawing package in the staff report. But what you're saying, Ian, is that the gas canopy was, from your understanding, was supposed to be aligned north-south?
Yes, correct. Because my understanding about those traffic impact study was, it was the traffic flow of people turning and then coming in and then going back out. So we go back and we take a look at the entire site. Obviously a very compact site. There's one entrance in at the beginning there, and then you go around the building and then you go around the back end of the building to access what would be, I believe it's a Kentucky Fried Chicken site. And then you would have to come back out, I guess, of that drive-through. Then you'd have to go around the building once more to get to the exit. And that was his issue, was just the amount of traffic going in front of the building. And that's also a pedestrian area from the gas canopy to also the convenience store, Pizza Hut, everything else. So that's why he suggested turning the entire gas canopy the other way. So cars would be easily able to go into, the gas section. So that's my recollection of what he recommended to us. But I can still see the gas canopy is oriented in the same way. It wasn't so much that the gas pumps were angled. I don't know if that really matters. It's actually the gas canopy situation on the site was his major concern, but.
Okay, go ahead, Kelly.
Yeah, just for clarity, sorry, just for clarity on that, so, our traffic engineer reviewed the changes that were made back and forth, from the developer and the angling of the.
He said it was all right.
Yeah, it does help with the flow, because people, yes,
So did he give us some,
yeah, we do have information from him, yes, confirming that was good.
okay, can you share that with us?
Yeah, it's correspondence back and forth
Okay,
between Daryl and the traffic engineer, but yes. Yeah, we can share all that information.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay, Ian, anything else? Yeah.
well, I had a question, staff, on the setbacks of the site as well. I see, and maybe this is something we need to clarify. Because the setbacks, for parking, curbing, permittable area, they're all going right up to the property line, just because the site is so compact. And so I mentioned this to you earlier, maybe we can check on what the rules are around those setbacks.
Yeah,
Because
true.
I believe for highway commercial, what are they? Rear is 6 meters, front is 10 meters. Interior side is 6, exterior side is 6. And we don't have that. We certainly have parking within the setback up there.
Go ahead, there, Nicole.
Yeah, through the chair. Do you mind going back to, I think there was some red lines and blue lines? Just take a quick peek. One more. Maybe it's not, yeah. There we go. Okay, so you're asking for some clarification on the setbacks of the parking, probably along the northern boundary there, then the fountain area, and then, of course, the access along the east side.
And then there's some seating area, I believe 2 is in the setback.
Okay, yep. Yeah, and I'll certainly look into that. I guess my interpretation was that the setbacks were for buildings and structures. But we can definitely look to see if there's any type, talk about that for parking and, seating. Some of that permanent infrastructure.
Well, maybe if I could just point one thing out. So the permanent island here where you go in, it looks like there's trees, but there is some permanency to it, right? Like, anyways, I think I'll just leave that with you to kind of check as well. One more.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess the other question I'd leave staff with as well is to review the OCP and about the frontage. You know, I'm concerned that the frontage on the main street, from what I can see with the plans, is drive-throughs, menu boards, pickup windows, right? That's all facing, you know, the main street area. The other thing that I could see on the plan, and I assume, but maybe you would know, is that cooling. So I assume that's HVAC units or heating, cooling units that would be put in front of, I think, what the existing doors are right now. So that's a bit of concern. I see there is some sort of fencing, but you know, having large HVAC units there, I assume that's done for a reason. Maybe the ceiling can't handle it, or the roof can't handle it. But again, that's fronting Main Street, so it's
I think you're referring to, it says on the
coolers.
exterior cooler and exterior freezer. Those look like about a 10 by 40 walk-in coolers that you access from the inside.
So when I look at the
Oops.
when I look at the drawing, and maybe this is just something we need to clarify, is that it looks like the existing envelope of the building is still there, and then this would be like an add-on. But I don't know if that's an add-on to the building or if it is actually mechanical, right? Because there will be mechanical needs for this building in terms of heating, cooling. It was used previously as a fairly low density site, you know, more of a, you know, sled shop than it is what is being proposed as now. So I don't know, maybe that's just something to clarify.
I think if you go to drawing A2 in our package, it does show, I presume it's part of the building. It's added onto the building. I don't know if they're standalone or not. I can't tell.
You're talking about the front facing?
Yeah, the front.
Yeah.
Where the garage doors are, existing garage doors or shop doors are now. So that would be the east, south.
Yes. So is that a building or?
Sorry, guys, Mark has raised his hand. If he can answer, he's the engineer.
Sure.
I can answer a bunch of questions that have come up over the last 5 minutes here. So to start with, the first comment from I think one of the councillors was the streetscape is how have we made the building look inviting, or you know, the lands that face Main Street. The first to address that is we have made various different products on the front of different materials, and we've stepped the elevations up and down across compared to what it actually looks like today. So we got a bunch of varied elements of some different metal panels, different colors. There is some signage on there. So instead of one long blank face, and along with on the boulevard area, we've added an enormous amount of trees. And I think that answered your, how did it look, looks inviting being on, you know, from driving by. The second point you guys were talking about is the traffic study and why weren't the gas islands or the canopy turned 90 degrees. We did look at that and we did turn them. And then we looked at how the flow would have to come through there, and everyone would end up getting backed up because we'd have to have double or triple stacked lanes there. And there just wasn't enough room. So we looked at this option that you can see right now, and this is actually the final print there. And we angled the islands 45 degrees, and it was proven that, you know, an F3 pickup truck with a boat in behind can pull into the wider lanes there. We purposely made a couple wider, and there's enough flow for people to come around closer to the building and around farther out where the tanks are. So the traffic flow around there, we do not feel is going to be backed up. Question, the third one was regarding setbacks, that there's parking and some other, like where we've got some tables and stuff in the setbacks. The bylaws basically state that the setbacks are to the building and it's not to other stuff. And then you have to have a certain amount of landscaping in there. So we purposely left some of the parking off, only a few feet off of some of the property lines. And then the last one was thinking about mechanical equipment, the cooler freezer. That's basically a walk-in cooler freezer that is accessed from the inside. And we're going to be adding siding to the outside of it to dress it up too. Any mechanical or electrical units are up on top of the roof. There's no mechanical, electrical, HVAC stuff that's down on the ground there. I think the only thing that's not showing on this drawing right now is the units are going to be turned into propane for the HVAC. And in order to do so, we are going to have to add an outside propane tank that, you know, a lot of the buildings around town actually do have. So I hope that answered most of the questions that you just brought up in the last 5 minutes here.
Okay, thank you, Mark. That's great clarity. Whereabouts are you gonna put that propane tank, you know?
It's probably going to be over by drive-through 1 because it has to have some clearances to the building and stuff. Probably right where that double light standard is shown. So
Okay.
on the west side of the building.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, and I know Deb had her hand up. Why don't we let and see what she has to say?
Yeah, you bet. Go ahead there, Deb.
Yeah, honestly, it was just a question. I was quite surprised that highways never weighed in when we were looking at this initially. So like in terms of the external referral, have they, with the new traffic study and the adjustments, said that they're good with things?
I know there was a report from Highways and they were good with it because it's an existing building and it's not.
Yeah, it's, like I say, just a question, because they seem to weigh in on so many things, and I was always kind of surprised they never seemed to really have much of an opinion on this. But no, all good.
Okay, thank you, Deb. Anybody else? Just go ahead.
Yeah, I have another question for staff. So all of the landscaping that is going to give this building it's going to hide some of the aspects of the building. They're all on our property, right? They're not actually on the property of the landowner. And am I also correct when I look at this property line that the property that goes on to Main Street is owned by the district as well?
Can you go to the slide with the red and blue again? Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, obviously everything south of the red and blue line there is the district road dedication. Yeah, so we've got the access entrance in, some line painting, then the pedestrian to the crosswalk there to the right. Then the existing sidewalk and grassy area. And that grassy area is where the trees are proposed.
Okay, thanks, Nicole. And you done, Irene, with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else before I weigh in? John, you're good? Okay. Sweet Val, I just had a couple of questions, or maybe for Mark. Just out of curiosity, are you having hydrants on your building? I didn't see anything where there's any, I'm just thinking safety here. Is there any place for like a fire hydrant to hook up to your building? I know the other closest one is at the school. So do you have anything on your site that could, you know, being that it's a fuel station, that you'll be able to fight fires?
I'd have to double check the civil drawings, but I'm pretty sure another hydrant was added somewhere out in the front because we have to be within 90 meters to the main front doors to the hydrant.
Okay,
So-
yeah, no, I just.
Where,
just-
where,
Go ahead.
what is that?
Yeah, I was just inquiring about a fire hydrant or like a fire hookup on, I know they have them on some buildings where you can actually hook up to the building. Being that
I
it's
don't know if they'll be able to.
a fuel station.
Being moved.
What? No. What's that mean?
Okay, I think we got somebody else who's got their mic on and they're talking in the background.
The building is non-sprinklered, so regardless of whether it's a fuel station or not, there'll be a fire hydrant added if required to meet the BC building code. So, and from what I remember, I think there was one being added, but I can't confirm that right now because I'd have to double check the civil drawings, but.
Okay, that's great. And then I just had one other question. When we talk form and character, and I know you've done a lot of jet outs and different colors to accent the building. Just that it's facing Main Street, and I know you do have some windows in there, but actual visual from the sidewalk or from the roundabout, there's not any doors on this side of the building that you can actually see. So it really makes it look like a back alley of a building. So I'm just wondering, is there any spot in there? I know you do have one single door or two double doors in by the coolers, those new coolers you're talking about, but you can't see them. So it just kind of makes the back of the building, it has no entrance to it. And I just wondering is there a spot there that you could, instead of putting that door, because I know you're gonna change the face of that building, putting a door facing Main Street would be make it look like it's, like a not just a back alley type thing.
I understand what you mean by that. But at the same time, having doors on that backside when basically 80% of the traffic coming into this site would be driving and have to drive around the building, it would actually encourage people to stop on that side of the building when we've got all these no parking, no stopping signs along there, to have them come around the building.
Okay, yeah, no, I get where you come from.
Yeah,
I know you from the sidewalk from Main Street, you have an entrance down onto the apron there, and I just with that sidewalk, I thought it would be nice to have a door facing this side, and I have seen it in some Tim Hortons where you do have to cross the traffic to get into Tim Hortons or something like that. But that was one of my comments. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Ian, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to ask staff a question, and it's not really clear on the plan here. From where the drive-throughs are, you see the little bulb from the drive-through to the property line where the district property, public property begins. How wide is that?
I don't know offhand.
There's a dimension shown right next to drive-through 2, just on the bottom of it, and I'm thinking it's around 18 feet. It shows.
Maybe that's something we can look into, Nicole, as well.
You're talking from the building envelope to the property line?
No, from the physical barrier where the two drive-throughs are, the property, 20 feet.
Yeah, if you look over here, there's a 20 from here. That says 20 feet to here.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Okay, 20 feet.
In fine print.
Yeah, it's
So
in very, very fine print, yeah.
So I can see from the south edge of drive-through 2 to the actual property line is 18 foot 9 inches. And then there's another 11 foot 6 inches from property line to the edge of the existing curbing that's on the city site there.
Okay.
So you got about 30 foot drive access on the back.
To the property line?
Well, there's 18 foot 9 from the south side of drive-through 2, where those cooler freezers are, to the property line. And then there's
Oh.
another 11.5 feet from the property lines going southward to the actual existing curbing.
No, I was looking at where the two drive-throughs actually, there's a little bit of a bulb out there. Because I assume that's a permanent structure, right, at that point? Because I assume that's something for the drive-through operations, but it looks like there's trees and. So from there to the property line is, you said 18.9 feet?
Maybe we're talking about a different spot.
So you see where the little, you see where both the drive-throughs are, the exit and the entrance?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
section right there.
Okay, so right at that section, basically where we got those hatch lines in there of no stopping.
No, I meant the little ball. I assume it's concrete curbing and.
Our pictures that we're looking.
Are they different?
So you're
Oh. Yeah, right. Is that 18.5? 18 point, okay, yeah, perfect. All the different, there's different ones for, I don't know what you're looking at.
Yeah, it's a little, a
Yeah.
lot of drawings, a lot of.
Yeah.
Good there, Ian? You got any more?
No, I'm just, did we, another one for staff. When we did the traffic study, so we have 18.9 feet. That's good enough for a gas truck to get through.
A B train.
Yeah, B train. And.
You go.
Yeah. I'm giving you questions because I'd like to have these answered. Just.
From what I understood, is there's that 18 foot 9 feet, and then there's another 11 feet on the city property so that's almost 30 feet there, and that was used wholly as part of the traffic study.
Yeah, so, Mr. Chair, I mean, my concern is if we are now dedicating, city property to the operations of a commercial enterprise, and that's gonna solely be needed to do the commercial enterprise, that's a totally different thing. Because this is public property, and so that's why I wanna know, because at some point we might need to use that for any number of different reasons. Who knows, we wanna actually put a multi-use bike lane through there or some other sort of amenity. But we didn't sell the property to the development. Development's a commercial property. It's there as a money-making venture. This is public lands that are owned by the people of Sycamoose. And so we need to retain the ability to develop it in the way that we might in the future, other councils might. But if it's completely attached to the operations of a commercial enterprise and it's reliant on those public properties, then that's not good planning in my mind. That's poor planning. So if we need to assume that, on the existing property that the developers own, that we can operate, gas B trains in there, other services as well. So I'd just like to have staff look at that. Because that's something that should be baked into this plan, that they're able to operate on all their own properties. Obviously, there could be a entry right away there. But in terms of all the other pieces of property, we don't know what we're gonna have to use that for in the future.
Okay, good point, Ian. Cole, you got that?
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Just
Go ahead, John.
one small thing, just in regards to kind of what Deb was saying about, having this connected. The proposal went to MOTI, right, but its existing building is the reason they didn't really look at it. The existing building's purpose is being changed astronomically. You're going from like a sled shop that's gonna have very few people coming into it to an attraction. It's got, 4 to 5 businesses in it, I believe. Your amount of traffic coming in has changed from the original one business operating inside. I personally, I didn't get to see the traffic impact study. You have 3 restaurants minimum plus a gas station. You're gonna have heavy logistical trucks coming in continuously into a fairly confined parking lot. No, like I said, I didn't see this, I didn't see the study. I do find it a little tough to believe that this is all gonna be actually operational and not congest onto Main Street with our traffic circle. We already have people that don't know how to drive in our traffic circle, let alone getting multiple big trucks in and out of that small. So like, in this drawing, are we actually adding as well to the width of that entranceway, or is that the actual entranceway that we're bringing those trucks in?
Mark, can you answer that?
I think the access way is being widened just a little bit from what it is today.
Onto district land as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, is it to the east? I guess it would have to be to the east, I imagine.
I think it's being widened slightly to the east, but I'd have to go back to an original drawing to see if it has changed slightly.
Okay. Great, thank you. Anybody else? I just had one quick question too. Mark, your plans for the future hotel, what are you gonna do with that site? It looks like it's not gonna blocked off with bricks or whatever on your drawings, but what is gonna happen with that site? Is it gonna be cared for? Is it gonna be used for parking for the time being? Is it gonna be, if it's gonna be grass, is it gonna be mowed all the time, or is it gonna be parking?
I think Sweet Bell could answer that more, but what we're anticipating, it's going to be blocked off and it's probably going to be grassy area.
Sweet Bell?
Correct. So it will be blocked off in a grassy area and it will be maintained. In terms of the other question that was asked from MOTI perspective, the access to this properties from Main Street, it doesn't fall on a provincial highway. That's why they have no concerns and they'll have no concerns related to this property. That's why we got that traffic impact study done, and that's why city engaged a third party to do a traffic impact study. So both studies addresses those questions. The access is not on a provincial highway, so whether the building changes, the building doesn't change, they will have no comments.
Okay, thanks, Sweet Bell. We understand that. It's just everybody's a little cautious about how much, you know, how busy it'll transform onto our problem being the district of Sycamoose or Main Street. So, you know, just, you know, I know.
I understand.
I know the first impact study didn't have the hotel in the traffic study, figured into the traffic study, and even the second one we didn't have the hotel into the study as well. So we just, and there's been a few businesses added that weren't included in the traffic study, or one, I guess it was a liquor store before and now it's a licensed premises. And then the other one was Pizza Hut was never mentioned in any of the traffic studies as well. So it was just I know they used food court. Anyways, so it's just a concern that some of us have, that it's gonna flow on to Main Street and cause a little bit of a problem in highways. I know they don't have a problem with it, but it's just a little concern for us. Thank you.
Agree, sir. Thank you. So I'll address all that. I met the city council in person on site 3 years back. Don't know exactly now. And these questions and concerns were brought forward. Previously, there was a pizza place. It was named Roaster Barn. Just the name has been changed. The drawings haven't changed. It's been changed. Instead of Roaster Barn, it will be Pizza Hut. There was always the licensed dining area showed. And it has been in the drawing since then. And when I met the council and the city people at that time on site, same questions were raised 2.5, 3 years back. And in the servicing agreement, I mentioned that, hey guys, if this becomes a problem, we won't do phase 2. Those comments are there and that's how 530 development permit was signed. The turning radius, all these comments were discussed. What questions are coming today were exactly discussed 2.5, 3 years back, and not just in a meeting, but also in person. If you pull up the minutes, might be the minutes for in-person meeting is not there, but all these questions were asked before. So, if it would be on city website itself, those minutes. And sincerely, at that time, we talked about the hotel and I said, if as a good citizen, if it doesn't fit the bill, if it's a traffic problem, we won't do it. We won't do it. And I say this again, we won't do it if it becomes a concern at all. So, and I continue to stay in that positive energy tone that we are not desperate to build a hotel there either. We went with this plan. That was our first phase plan, and that is the plan today. Instead of KFC, we named something else. It could be a restaurant name change, but not the actual new use added. And those are continuously the same things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mikal. Okay, one more in.
Yeah, no, just something for staff, like just going forward with the development, because we can't just have one parcel off on itself. You know, that's not a separate land parcel, so that shouldn't actually be on these plans, because that would have to come back, that would have to get another development permit for whatever would go in that section. I mean, because, this is on their plans, but, you know, for our purposes, that's kind of irrelevant. Site 530, if you wanted to put on another building, it'd have to go through another process, and we'd have to look at parking requirements for hotels, you know, all of these other things, right? Which our bylaws would say. So that going forward, I don't think that section should be blocked off as if it's being reserved, because it really is part of the whole parcel. The other thing is, that probably answers my questions then on the next one. It's just the parcel coverage, right? And I wonder if staff can calculate the impermeable surface area. Because it looks to me that it is all covered with some impermeable surface area. So we have a maximum 80% coverage on that. So it might actually be that for this to even comply with the C2 zoning, that area at the back will always have to remain in, you know, impermeable surface. Or not impermeable surface, I should say. So can we just, calculate that as well and make sure that's within the zoning bylaw?
Okay, great. Thanks, Ian. Okay, Deb, you're good. Everybody's good. Nicole or Kelly, how do you want to handle this? There's a few outstanding questions. Do we move it towards council, or you want to answer those questions, or how do we got to do that? Because I got to read the recommendation.
Yeah, through the chair. I guess there's a few different options. I mean, we can gather this information and have it ready before it goes to council and like bring it to council. I don't know if you would want that at a committee of the whole first. Probably open.
Kelly?
Whatever
Yeah.
direction you guys want.
Okay. Anybody have any concerns? Ian, go ahead.
Well, so I'm just thinking, what is the best way is it to gather this, have more discussion here, or because there's a couple other items we're waiting on. And I'd like just to point out to the chair that and I know there's a disagreement here of what the zoning is, but you know, the bylaw 1000 zoning is it doesn't permit drive-throughs. I understand that the proponent feels that it does. But you know, under our current zoning, it doesn't. So there's a discrepancy there. So I'm looking to Kelly, we're still waiting on some information, and I don't know, I'm happy to put it towards Cal and have that done, or come back here.
I think it should go to council because, I mean, we can't make any decisions here anyway, so we should bring it forward. Malcolm, you had your hand up there?
Yeah, if I could make a suggestion, there's a recommendation on the table that has been submitted to the committee. I think the committee should vote on that recommendation. Recommendation being, this committee recommended council that a permit be issued. I support that recommendation. I think this committee should recommend to council that a permit be issued. And then staff can take all the issues that were addressed today. It's a staff function at that point. Staff can take all that information, incorporate it into the permit, and then present that permit to council for a decision.
Yeah. Okay, I think probably what we'll do is I mean, we're not gonna recommend that a permit be issued. We'll just recommend it to council and council can recommend that. Is that right, Kelly?
I don't know what the recommendation is.
I'll just read the recommendation that we have and it'll go to council and we can debate it if there's more debate, we can debate it in the Cal meeting.
Yeah, could I suggest that it goes to Cal? There's several councillors that have yet to see this and, you know, maybe at Cal, this will be a very clear direction.
Okay, you okay with that, Nicole?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll read the recommendation that recommendation that the Planning Development Committee recommend to council the development permit 21361 DP for the property legally described as Lot 1, District Lot 497, Kamloops, Division Yale District Plan 12390-534 Main Street for Checkpoint, a commercial development including drive-through service, food facilities, food court, dining, and associated amenities. And I'll just add, presented to committee of the whole meeting. Right? We have a mover. Moved by Ian, second by John. All those in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you. Thanks, sweet pal, and thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. We'll get this, it'll probably go to Cal next meeting, right? I think. No. Okay, well, it'll be coming to Cal pretty soon.
Do you know when that will be?
Nicole, you got an idea?
Through the chair, I guess I have to pull all this information together. That's why it won't be the next meeting.
Okay.
I'm sure I can work with Mark to get the answers faster.
Yep. Okay.
But we'll aim for as fast as possible.
Great. All right. Okay, you got that, Mark?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving right along, zoning bylaw 1057 2024 326 Bear Lake Lane. Nicole, do you want to take that away?
Yep, through the chair. Okay, so
We also have the legacy online here too. That's Craig Maxwell.
yes, thank you. I'll just start the presentation. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so this is, I can't quite see the zoning bylaw number. 1057/2024, and this is for 24032 Z. It's for 326 Mara Lake Lane. And so the location map on the left, property in crosshatch, and then on the right, we have an ortho showing the existing property. Okay, so the property is designated under the OCP, residential waterfront medium density. And it's zoned currently MUR2 seasonal accommodation. So the proposal in front of us today is to rezone this property from MUR2, which is seasonal accommodation, to MUR1, multi-unit residential. There's no new development proposed at this time. It's a rezoning only. So we have an application in our hands, authorized from the strata directly, and just a little bit of history, and I know it's a little bit messy, but it sounds like zoning bylaw 101, 1993, the previous bylaw had it zoned, I call it CMR 02, CDZ 12, and it did not allow short-term rentals. And zoning bylaw 1000, 2022 had it as MUR 2, which does allow short-term rentals. Then it went to MUR1 in another reading, and it was finalized as MUR2. MUR1 doesn't allow short-term rentals. The strata bylaw has no direction for short-term rentals, and the applicant has provided numerous complaints put together from our bylaw department and the RCMP. And we know there is an active BC Civic Resolution Tribunal case for this property. Some internal referrals, we've got building bylaw ops had no concerns with the rezoning. And then fire department was in support of the rezoning because their biggest issue is parking in front of fire hydrants. And if there were no short-term rentals, that would reduce the amount of vehicles along that road and hopefully less parking in front of hydrants. Just wanted to talk about a couple options. Prior to first and second reading, you know, council might want to require a strata resolution in favor of the rezoning. Right now, we do have the strata president has signed the application and fully aware that we've accepted it and we're going through this process. I mean, another option is to do first and second reading and just get it to public hearing. And then of course, all of the owners in that building would get notified and we would go through that process.
Okay, thank you very much, Nicole. Okay, well, let me read the recommendation that the Planning Development Committee recommend the council to give first and second reading to the District of Sicamous zoning bylaw number 1057, 2024 to rezone 2326 Mare Lake Lane from MUR2 seasonal accommodation to MUR1 multi-use residential. May I have a mover? Yeah, we gotta have a mover and a seconder. And then discussion.
Sure. Well, I actually have a question
Okay.
for, I know it's, so where is this application, I guess, coming from? Is it, they've passed a resolution at their AGM or because I felt we were really clear on what we would do the next time this would come up. But, and I felt that this has been the council before. We had, I think, a couple of meetings or a few meetings on this.
Yep.
And we said if there was a strata resolution, an AGM to change the zoning, that we would look at it again. So I guess what I'm looking to staff answer, do we have that?
Go ahead, Nicole.
Through the chair, not that I'm aware of, and I'm also not aware of the previous conversations about requiring a strata resolution for a rezoning.
Okay, so if I could
Just one sec, yeah, we don't have that yet, but we're requesting it. Okay, in this motion, this will be an option. Go ahead, Ian.
Okay, so then this feels like a little bit like deja vu. Because we had that last time where the strata was requesting that this be rezoned, but it was not actually supported by the residents. And under provincial law, there is a process for this to happen at an AGM of the owners. So that's how we kind of resolved it last time, and it stayed MUR2 because there wasn't that resolution. The strata couldn't agree, and actually it was voted down. Actually, sorry, they did agree. They voted it down to say no, they would like to continue as allowing short-term rentals in that building. And our process here as the town, we allow the stratas to determine whether they want to be a allowable zone for short-term rentals or not. But it's really in the strata ballpark. It's really up to them. And so we're back to now what we dealt with about a year ago, where there's certain elements of a building that would like it to be, no short-term rentals. There's also a significant element of the building that wants it to be short-term rentals. So I'm just a little unclear why this is coming back, and I'm just trying to get clarity as to where we are and why we're coming back to this now.
Okay, just let me move this forward for discussion, right? We're carried for discussions. Have a mover? John, seconder? Deb, okay, discussion, okay.
Um, I think we have an application in hand from the strata. I think, staff have got some options here. That's what they recommend, that we move this forward to a public hearing. And, I guess, I mean, I know we're back in the same spot, but I think they could do this every year and try to get it at an AGM, I imagine. Get it to an AGM and vote on it to get a strata resolution. Is that correct, Kelly?
Yeah, so through the chair, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nicole, so we got a legal opinion because it's complicated with stratas because there's lots of different owners.
Okay.
So what do we require in order to process an application? So this is coming from the strata council. And we I think have the option to choose what we require as council to move forward with this. So option one is, you know, if we don't want to be in the same scenario as we were last time with everybody coming to the public hearing, we could request a strata resolution prior to it coming to the public hearing so that we have it. But this is where, you know, this isn't, staff isn't making that recommendation because at the end of the day, it's going to be council making that decision. So I don't think it would be a bad idea to get clarity from the strata prior to actually
Okay,
processing and moving this forward to a public hearing, because at the public hearing, it will be a little bit of a, I'm assuming a deja vu situation about what happened previously and really, you know, and it's difficult because under the Strata Act, you need 75% of the strata owners to agree, right? That's the Strata Act. So the municipality doesn't follow the Strata Act, but we recognize that, you know, there's differences of opinions in there, and whether we want to get in the middle of this or not, that's up to council.
okay, thank you, Kelly.
Right, Nicole?
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, I guess what we're suggesting is like, if you would like, before it goes to first and second, we could have that strata resolution in hand as part of the application, and then council can decide.
Yeah, okay, we do have, well, okay, go ahead, Darian, and then Deb, and then I'll have Craig come online.
Sure, I like that staff recommendation that prior to first and second reading that there's a strata resolution from their AGM requesting this change, and then I think if that's the case, then I personally would not have a problem rezoning it if there's that strata resolution.
Okay, go ahead there, Deb.
Yeah, so just a quick question, I guess. So my understanding is that short-term rentals are not approved by the District of Sicamous unless they get a letter of consent from the strata. So even though this may not be zoned to specifically preclude short-term rentals, isn't it kind of automatic by virtue of the fact that the strata is not going to give a letter of consent for it?
Go ahead then, Nicole.
Yeah, through the chair. I guess what you're saying is that, I mean, by the strata not providing strata consent form as part of an application package, it's already a no. I think
Yeah.
I would probably assume that the strata doesn't want to keep seeing that over and over, and rezoning would solve that for them.
Okay, thanks, Nicole. Go ahead, Darian.
Yeah, sorry, but I just want to point out, that's a little different than changing the zoning. The zoning is part of our overall management of the town, right? So the strata can ultimately just keep refusing to give consent, then we will not be providing the business, the business license. But that's different than us changing the whole zoning, right? And so I think these are two separate things, right? The strata can rightfully say no, and that's part of our process, but us changing the zoning is a whole different matter in of itself. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead there, Kelly.
Yeah, further to that, what would probably be better for clarity is that they just change their own strata bylaws to either permit it or not permit it.
Correct.
Versus putting it on the District of Sicamous to make that decision.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
No, that's good. Thank you. Craig, you're online there, Craig Maxwell. You had your hand up there?
Yeah, I'm going to let Ryan, our Vice President, speak first, please.
Okay,
Yeah, so
go
I just
ahead.
want to answer a couple of questions, so hopefully you guys can hear me all right. In regards to rezoning, part of the reason for that is to make it clear to potential future owners as well. I mean, we've been rezoned to not allow short-term rentals for the past 14 years, with the exception of the previous 1 year. So I think it's a little unfair to say that we need to strata resolution which requires 75% to pass our own resolution, because we do have bylaws in place currently that state our building is for single family dwellings only. We do have that in place, which is why we don't need an additional 75% explicit short-term rental bylaw. Single family dwellings does not incorporate commercial use, which short-term rentals clearly is. And it also doesn't accommodate short-term rentals, because that doesn't mean it's a single family dwelling. So we currently feel we do have current bylaws in place that prevent short-term rentals in our building. The unfortunate part is a small majority, call it 20%, 25, well, it's about 27% of the building doesn't agree with our interpretation, hence the CRT case. But we have received multiple legal opinions via CRT lawyers that our case is strong, and we do not need explicit short-term rental bylaws to actually be zoned to not allow short-term rentals. So we're hoping the district can rezone us to what we've been rezoned to for the past 14-ish years, because that's what the owners bought into the building, with the expectation that short-term rentals and Airbnbs were not part of our building's past zoning, and we'd like to get back to that point. I mean, we are fully supported by 73% of the ownership to go ahead with our rezoning application, which in any world is more than a strong majority. Strata Act law is obviously 75%, which is a high bar, but I think 73% in any case, any vote, any election is sufficient to rezone, in my opinion. We also do have, as a fire marshal or fire department stated, significant parking issues, safety issues. We've had short-term renters cover smoke detectors because they've had drug use while they're there on site. They continue to park in front of the fire hydrants constantly. Our building is suffering because of short-term rental use. We are operating right now as a ghost hotel. Not one short-term rental owner has stopped renting their unit without a business license. So it's in essence, we're hoping the district, yes, can help rezone the building so it is much more clear to future owners and to current owners that short-term rentals aren't permitted. So, but thank you, and ask questions. We're here to answer anything you have. So,
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
So
Go ahead there, Ian.
yeah, thank you. That's very, very helpful, what you just mentioned. So out of the 73%, did you, I assume this is the petition or something that people have signed their name onto, that you can
no,
share
it was
with
an
us?
official strata vote. 73% of owners voted in this case. So not a petition, an official proxied strata legal resolution vote.
It was at the last SGM. This is Craig Maxwell.
AGM.
No, at the last AGM. We started out with when the district back in 22 asked us for our preference. Just under 67% of the owners voted to stay to remain as what would be the same zoning MUR1. That has now grown to an official AGM vote of 73% do not want short-term rentals in the building.
Okay, thanks very much. We really appreciate it, Craig. Okay, anybody else have any questions? Deb, you still have your hand up, do you? Or no? Okay. Well, we'll move this to
Excuse me.
council. Sorry, go ahead. No.
Oh, maybe.
Just somebody else in the background. Okay, go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, just because it's sometimes easier to ask questions here than it is when it gets to council. So just a question to staff, this would have to go through the full rezoning public hearing. Okay, I see, yes. And then maybe just another question to the strata folks. So it's already currently in your bylaws that you don't allow you allow single family dwellings, and you view that as disallowing the short-term rentals. What sort of, maybe you can tell me, you said it's a small minority of people in the building that are still renting. How many units are we talking about in there?
There's
17.
13, yeah, there's 17 owners, but 13 are on Airbnb. A couple of the other owners don't actually advertise or rent, but they are supportive of people being able to Airbnb, so.
Okay, so 13 units currently rent, but there's 17 owners that are supportive.
Yep, in total, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the last vote, Ian, was, I believe, 18 in favor of short-term rentals, 46 against short-term rentals. The building has 65 units. We had a quorum, the largest ever that night, of 63 participants. Normally, as a strata, we maybe get 40 to 45 people participating. This is a very, very tense issue in our building.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Great, thank you very much. All right, anybody else? No? Okay, I got a mover and I got a seconder. All those in favor to move this forward to first and second reading? Deb, okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you very much, Nicole. Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving right along, development service update. Nicole, that's you again.
Yeah, through the chair. It's just the last slide there. And I actually don't have much of an update. We just did 3 applications in this list and the others are status quo. The one at the bottom there, I haven't connected with the applicant for 410 Cottonwood Avenue. They had applied for a rezoning in a residential area to allow a short-term rental, but I wanted to bring their attention to the last council meeting and the temporary use permit that was defeated before they decide what they want to do next.
Okay,
It's my only update.
right. Anybody else? Kelly?
Yeah, I'll give an update that's not on here, but yesterday or is the day before, we did receive, hasn't been processed at all. We just received a development permit for 425 Main Street. So that will be coming probably to our next PDC meeting, and the plans look really nice.
Great.
Yeah.
Really good.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Kelly. Appreciate that. Okay, thanks for that. Nobody have any other questions on the update? We're all good? Okay, we'll recommend that the Planning and Development Committee meeting March 20th, 2024 be adjourned at 10:50. Can I have a mover? Ian, seconder, Deb? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody online, and thank everybody in the galley. Appreciate it. Enjoy your day.
That might have been our longest meeting.
Oh, yeah.